Is it a diving board? Is it Thor's shield? Wait, he doesn't have a shield. Never mind, strike that. It could be a deer stand. I mean, it does look like a deer stand. I guess you're just gonna have to wait and find out what this actually is. Hey guys, my name is Joshua. Welcome to the General's Workshop. Today we're gonna be exploring that idea of, you ever heard this expression? With every solution comes a new set of problems, but not with you, bud. We're gonna get into it today because I have something I wanna show you. My shop has a use line where 8 feet is basically pretty much where everything ends. It lacked dimension. The solution? A floor-to-ceiling shelf system. This floor-to-ceiling shelf system brought on its own set of challenges. Problem number 2, access to the upper level. So what was that solution? A librarian ladder. Now, I thought that this was the solution that would crack the code, but the reality is there's still one more issue. Now that I've had an opportunity to kind of stay with it, live with it, access it, here's the challenge, right? If I'm coming up and I'm accessing a tote that's empty, this is not a problem. I can still manhandle it with one hand and use the other to actually climb down. Here's where the challenge comes. What about this tote here that has roughly about 30 pounds in it? Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking. You're probably thinking, well, why don't you just only put your light stuff up top? And although I understand the logic of that, I just don't honestly want to succumb to the limitations that provides. Meaning, I'd rather create a solution to get around that so I can still store what I want up here. Now, my limit's going to probably be around like 50 pounds because I don't want to really be lifting more than 50 pounds over my head on a ladder, irregardless of whatever I come up with. So all of these will be under that, but nonetheless, I still need to create a solution. That's where I actually came up with the tote transfer system. So in this particular scenario, I started to think, back in the day when I was doing a lot of projects, I would always utilize like a 6-foot A-frame ladder. And these A-frame ladders traditionally had a platform of some sort, or if you will, kind of like a shelf on the very top. And what I remembered is oftentimes when I was accessing something of any significant weight, I would transition from there onto the platform, if you will, the shelf of that top rung, and then I would hold on with one foot and then I'd go down to the ground where the firm surface. Then I could use both hands to lift and bring it to the ground. So it got me thinking, what if I built a platform that would actually go up onto the actual shelf itself, right? Couple considerations, right? One, where do I put the shelf, right? Initially, I honestly thought about burying it on the side of the ladder itself, okay? But then I did a little bit of a brainstorm and a collab with Master Thumper, and the solution that we ended up coming up, who's Thumper? That's what you're asking? You're gonna find out. There's a separate video I'm doing on the actual platform that I'm about to tell you about. He helped me weld it, and we're gonna actually go through and kind of show you a little bit, but that's for another video. Let's get back to this one. So he came up with this idea and this thought process of let's mount it to the actual shelf itself. We're gonna do one on each side. So if I'm accessing these totes, I could put it onto the shelf here, or if I want to get the other side, I just move the ladder over, and I also have a shelf that I could put here to access those. But either way, there's going to be a temporary platform that'll allow me to transition, just like that A-frame ladder, to put that tote on top of. So let me show you what we came up with. All right, you guys, so if you look at the various pieces here, we're putting them together and we're topping it off with that expanded aluminum. There's 12-inch dowels that leave 6 inches of the dowels exposed with pins in the ends to secure it. Now, most of the totes that we'll be using have a 24-inch base, so they'll fit on there just fine. And those 6-inch dowels that's exposed, all they have to do is be able to make it through the 3-inch thick of the exposed dowels. All right, you guys, here it is. Here is the actual version. This is going to be our 16 inches wide by 25 feet, 25 inches deep. right? The average tote is 24 inches, so that'll fit on there just fine. Even if there is a little bit of overhang, that'll work out fine. And honestly, I might even go the long way, so that's totally fine. And then you've got the 6-inch of the dowels that extend off the back with the cotter pins right on the back there. That'll allow us to have a little bit of extra space as it goes all the way through the 2 of the 2x6s, which obviously milled down will be 3 inches. And these cotter pins are there. I'm not sure I'm going to use them, but I wanted to make sure that they were there if I ever did want to use them. Why? Because these cotter pins will make sure that it doesn't actually eject out of the actual holes that we're about to bore. So with that being said, let's get set.
Give it to me like.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting the second layer of the 2x6 that goes on the back. So we got to measure the dimensions for that. So for this first one, I'm going to do it, and we can do this one a little bit shy of it, but that's actually going to be just under 10. So I'm going to actually do 9 3/4. We're going to measure this next piece because we'll have one hole through here, another one right here. So this one will be 14. All right, then let's do the same for over here. Okay, got all of those cut. Now I'm actually going to countersink some holes. Let's go ahead and we're going to grab, yes, we're going to grab a countersink. There, and then I'm also going to grab a 6-inch bit, T25. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to actually do some countersinks in these. I'm going to use some of my other pieces that were more of the sacrificial piece. So we're going to do, all right, we're going to grab some T25, 3.5-inch screws. Okay, you guys, one of the things we're going to do here now is we have to figure out the positioning of that. But before we do that, what I want to actually do is figure out the distance between these. And here's a little trick that I've done that you can do not only for something like this, but also for like picture frames, something of that nature. But I'm going to take a tape, put it over like this, so I know this is my distance. So in a sense, what I'm going to be doing is I'm making a template. Okay, just like that. And then I'm going to take the old marker, all right, and I'm going to actually mark on here these holes, right? I could draw a full circle where the holes are, basically cross the line just to figure out where my center point is. I'll do the same with this after I get done pressing it down. And then basically what I'm going to do is now I could take this off, and I could go and I can actually come on over to the shelf. Once I figure out the level, I could just place it up here, and then I can do a center punch here on these two spots to actually indicate the exact distance. It makes it a little bit easier. So I'm just going to look into here. Now, the one thing that I want to actually do is when the dowel goes through, the back part will be sticking past the two 2x6s that are here. So I'm going to want that to be just underneath this upper piece, or the plywood shelf actually, so it can actually rest against that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this up. I'm going to make sure it's level, and then we'll do it to the other side, and we'll get these actually drilled out. Here over. Now the honest truth is I can do this pretty much a lot of different ways. I'm going to try to get it as far to my right as I can. And what I'm doing is I'm lining up this 2x6 that runs front to back, and I'm making sure that I'm not going to press into that. And then I'm just going to come on over Let's grab that out, and then let's do this. Let's kind of look to see right where we're at. That's about 1.5 inches. And so I need to come up. The nice thing about the blue tape is you can just make micro adjustments, just like that. 1.5 inches. Oh, brown wants in. That's perfect. Here's what I'm going to actually be utilizing. So this is an actual guide. This is one of the Rockler ones, but this has the 7/8 inch Forstner bit. Now, I did actually utilize a scrap piece, and I drilled a few of these different Forstner bits just to see which one had the fit that I liked. This is the one that won. So here's how we're going to actually utilize this. I'm going to line this up. I'm going to get it so that, again, that center tip on that Forstner bit's going to line up with that center hole, and then you're going to push it through. And again, for those of you that are wondering, well, what is this actual device? This is the device that will allow me to reference the flat nature of the front and give me a 90-degree angle, right, in relation to the front face of the shelf. And then that just, in a sense, is a guide that allows me to make sure that my hole is straight back. Because you can imagine in a scenario like this, where that's locked in at 90, if the angle of the holes drilled are a little bit off, then the platform won't actually insert. So we got to make sure that we're all set. So let's go ahead and drill one of these out so you guys can kind of take a look at it. And I can get it up there. All right, you guys, so I actually got the holes reamed out on both sides. I'm going to give you just a quick demonstration. I'm actually keeping it over the actual platform over here. And again, what we're going to do is we're simply just going to take it up. You're going to start it in both, lift it up, and then it just, honestly, it slides right in. And it's pretty solid. Now, there's a tendency, because there's nothing actually holding this per se, that the top end, it will bend down just a little bit. And that is why, if you want, you can even angle your drill just a little bit, maybe just a couple of degrees. But in my particular case, I don't think it's going to cause any to happen. So let me show you. Come on up. And at this point, you're going to take your tote. You're simply going to set it down here, which again, I think you could set it long ways. If you wanted, you could turn it sideways, but I'm going to leave it just like that. There we go. And then, of course, we could take it out just